Okay, so the plan for the knife bevel, next job. Essentially, having looked at how thick the knife is and how deep I'd like to set the bevel, the angle that I need is just fractionally off a 90-degree angle, giving me an edge profile somewhere in the region of about 10 degrees. That's going to be very precise, and because this was never actually planned to be a knife, what I've done is, this is already hard, which is going to make my life a little bit more difficult than I'd like it to be. But, so, what I need to do is I need to make a jig for my belt sander. Now, my belt sander, as you can see, has only got this little tiny table. And what I want to actually do is place a larger table on it and make a jig. Something like this. Obviously that's just a plate planked on there. That I can essentially make a woodblock jig, clamp the blades to, and then run it back and forth across the table at a set angle. So, drilled a hole in a piece of this. Gonna chop this down to just long enough to support this plate. Gonna cut this plate into a table. Gonna weld said bracket onto there in such a way that I can then mount it on the belt grinder, make a wood block. Okay, to recap, I cut some steel from this circular stone cutting saw blade. You can see the carbide teeth that I cut off the little test piece that lived there. And I did some quench testing and ultimately discovered that the steel is some form of abrasive resistant industrial steel, unknown carbon content, probably relies really heavily on its alloys to actually give it its toughness, because when I water quenched it in my little bucket there, what I discovered was without even any further heat treating, it was tough as hell. So my unbroken test piece got beaten into this knife shape pretty roughly and quickly, and I went to sand it on my newly acquired belt sander, but my belt sander actually came with a little tiny armature there, which was great for doing the flat work to square up the sides of the blade, but no good for actually grinding a profile on it. They've got no sort of real control over that. So I ended up having to fabricate this little table, which gives me something at 90 degrees to the actual belt sander, that I can use this jig with a nut through it, so that I can place it on the table and move the piece back and forth across there at a set angle, and hopefully grind some kind of a blade profile onto it. Okay, problem number one. Table moved. Managed to brace that out there. Hopefully, yeah, fingers crossed, that will hopefully keep that in place. Try again. Okay, I've swapped the knife around, and I'm going to try and repeat the process on the other side, see if I can get something consistent. The way the belt is currently set up, it's drifted ever so slightly to the one side of the table, and that means that my plunge areas, where the blade kind of starts near the ricasso area of the knife, the ricasso is the unsharpened bit of the blade right near the handle, and discovered that the major issue is I'm missing the locking nut, so the vibration is causing this to drift. Where the hell did I put the knife that I was making? Hang on. See the adjustable vice there? The reason why I have such limited camera angles is because that is my that's my tripod. I think I may have to upgrade at some point in the near future. Put these by, they're too small and easy to lose. They can go back in the toolbox there. Oh shit, there it is. Right, the kniffy. I have ground a profile on it. This side is the good side, the second side that I did after I stumbled across some problems. The other side is a little bit wobbly. But let that sink in for a second. Taking it down most of the way. In fact, on the curved portion there, it's actually got a thin metal burr on it. When you're sharpening a knife, once you've taken it down as thin as it'll go, it'll form a small burr which will fold over on the edge. And when you used to see people with the straight razor stropping back and forth across the edge, they were trying to break that tiny wire off, and then that broken off edge, that'll be the finest point that the material will actually hold. It'll be the sharpest it can be. I should add, it helps when you're sharpening to try and think like you're actually trying to shave the surface of the stone. I mean, to get a razor edge, you need to have a very fine grit of stone, because essentially you want to get rid of all these grinding marks and ultimately have a very polished edge. A very polished edge will present a lot less friction. I can see now that you'll never pick this up on camera, but here I, with my eyes, can't see the edge at all until I get to about here, and then this area is like a butter knife. If you hold the knife to the light and you angle it and you can see a white line, you're essentially looking at a flat spot on the edge, and that's good for spreading the butter on your bread and not much else. You need to take it down until you can't catch the light. It'll almost look like a dark spot because you're actually seeing the edges either side instead of a flat reflective surface there. You've got such a fine area that it's not reflecting any light back at you. That's how you know it's sharp. It just occurred to me that this is a blade made from a blade that was designed to cut stone and be abrasion resistant. This is a sharpening stone. This doesn't want to wear away, which is, in hindsight, not very surprising. I suppose the people who designed this particular steel did their job very well. The question is, still needs work. Reasonable. Paper's slightly soggy now. Still needs a little bit of, probably needs a strop actually. The edge has probably got some little burrs on it. I have no idea whether or not it'll hold that kind of an edge for any length of time. Suppose there's no way I can avoid sticking a handle on it now and testing it out further. Otherwise, it'll be back to the drawing board.
Coming up in part 3, I finished the knife. Get to see the complete article, and if you like this, don't forget to click the like button and subscribe button below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again soon.